Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. Spring has officially sprung, and you know what that means. All the weekend warriors dusting off their gear and trying way too hard to relive the glory days, and you know what's going to happen. Hip, ankle, foot, leg, knee, shoulder, injuries. Where else should you go other than Delaware Orthopedic Specialists? I don't know. DOS has specialists trained in each and every part of the body, so you're getting a provider specifically assigned to that part of the body. Why would you trust anyone other than a specialist? The only fellowship-trained surgery center in the state of Delaware makes it a no-brainer. Head on over to delortho.com or give them a call at 302-655-9494. I'm telling you, my family's gone there. My friends have gone there. Check out their Google reviews. They are phenomenal. DOS. Don't trust anyone other than a specialist.
Welcome to Talking 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talking 215.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another show here, Talking 215. We got a little bit of a different show here for you today. Probably the first time I've ever hosted this podcast, and probably the first time it's just two of us on here. Joining me today, we have Chris, Philly Dogs. Normally, there's a button that's pressed to make all the dogs bark to introduce you, but Chris, it's just you and me, man. What's going on?
Not much, man. And I would do the sound effect myself, but I don't feel like embarrassing myself on video here, so I'm not going to do that.
Okay,
but,
good.
No, man, doing good. How about you? How you doing?
I'm doing good, but it was weird me trying to get this all set up, right? Like I had to call Jake, find out all the buttons to press. You really appreciate how much work he puts into this and how he runs the show. But I needed to vent about something to start off the show. Since it's just me and you, let's start off with a vent session, if that's cool with you.
Absolutely. I always have something to vent about, so let's do it.
Let's get into it. I don't understand for the life of me what the deal with a certain sports radio station is. And I know we talk about it all the time, but a top 11 list, Christopher, and the Super Bowl winning MVP who led the Eagles to their second championship, their second Super Bowl in 3 years, on the cover of GQ, one of the hottest men alive, the young franchise quarterback, isn't on the top 11. Chris, what are we doing, man? What are we doing anymore if we're just going to just make stuff up and just run with it?
And honestly, I know they all kind of ranked them. Like I think each show kind of did like an 11, right? So like, I don't blame a particular individual. Like Hugh was like, because I was listening to them talk about it. It was like, he just didn't support Jalen not being in their top 11. So surprise, surprise, Jalen wasn't in the top 11 for, I think it was the afternoon show, midday show, whatever the hell. And you could tell he wasn't on board with that. Like he would have him too, I think he said, Saquon and then Jalen. You know what? I'm not angry at that. I'm really not. But them talking about it and like the producer chiming in, it's just like, well, he didn't do it alone. You know, he's not consistent. It's like, I've been bitching about this on Twitter like all week. Like, you know, comparing Hurts' stats to Mahomes, comparing Hurts' stats to Tom Brady even, which went bonkers on Twitter. And then the most recent one is like, think about it this way. Like everybody's argument is like, he doesn't put up the stats. He's carried. He's got the best O-line, best defense, all this shit. And we know it, right? We're not discrediting any of that. But no one says that Hurts carried Saquon. And just hear me out for a sec. Maybe you saw the tweet, maybe you didn't, Coach. But the premise of it was Saquon got a better quarterback, a better defense, better wide receiver weapons, better tight end, arguably, a better O-line for sure, but no one talks about how he got carried and how he's in such a better position. And the amount that we discredit Hurts and give credit to somebody else, and you can give credit to two people, guys. We can give credit to a whole fucking team if we want. We can do whatever the hell we want, guys. Like this is our show, is our world. We're just, everybody else is living in it. So I just don't like the discrediting of Hurts. I think it makes no sense to me. Like, when is this guy going to get his damn flowers?
Yeah, like what else does he have to do, right? I think we can all agree that even in the first Super Bowl between the Eagles and Chiefs, like Hurts played probably the best game anyone's ever played in a Super Bowl, I guess, however they grade it or however they score it, whatever the case was. He went toe to toe, and you could say that he outdueled Mahomes in that Super Bowl. And then he comes back the next year. They make the playoffs again. He plays great individually, but the team doesn't really do as well as it should. So he starts to take on this different mentality, right? This, I know that I can get my yards on this play. I know I can make the highlight play. But if we're going to be Eagles fans, truly ball-knowing Eagles fans that sit up here and say, oh, Dak Prescott has empty stats in the fourth quarter. Why are you telling me about Prescott's stats when Jalen Hurts and the Eagles go to the Super Bowl a year after year? I don't care about that. So you're going to sit there and then use that same argument against yourself by saying, oh, we need the selfish Hurts. We need this. No. He plays team ball. He does whatever it takes for this team to win. And for everybody that says like he's a tush-push merchant and he has a super team around him and everything like this, anytime I see another type of list, Chris, a top 5 positions in the NFL, top 10 positions in the NFL, they just did top 10 centers. Cam Jurgens wasn't on it. They did top 10 quarterbacks. They didn't have Jalen Hurts on it. They do top 10 corners. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, not on it. They do all these top 10 lists, and our guys are never on it. But then you say Jalen Hurts has a super team. So kind of like you said, Chris, like you can't we can't say one thing and do another. Let's not be hypocrites here. I don't care if the Eagles ran the Wildcat the entire Super Bowl. Whoever got the Super Bowl MVP is going to be in a top 2 list in Philadelphia. I mean, what are we talking?
It just makes no sense. And like you got Jaw Embiid on the list, and like I like Jaw, don't get me wrong, but like the guy hasn't seen the court in how fucking long. Like, what are we doing here? Like the guy just won a Super Bowl, and football's king. The Eagles are king in this city, and everybody knows it. So to not include your quarterback, your Super Bowl MVP quarterback, is just. I mean, I get what they're doing, right? This is the typical WIP. Look, it's the offseason. We're shooting the shit right now. They're running out of shit to talk about. And this is a great topic. I like this. I think it engages debate, but be fucking real for a second. He's got to be top. He's got to be in your top 11. You fucking need the guy, put him at 11. At least he's there. Like it just doesn't.
I don't understand it because it's kind of like the tush push narrative too, where Sirianni says, if everybody could do it, everybody would do it. Right? Like I think you said something like that, and Gruden showed you a little love to that, I believe.
He did. Yeah. We're best buds.
Yeah, I mean, John Gruden going to be on the show next week too, by the way.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
Chris, we're talking about like a negative part of the event to get off our chest right to start. So let's talk about a good part. Like you and I were chatting before the show, talking about Eagles right now, and you know everybody always talks about Mountain Rushmores and listen that guy. But some people say, you know, Allen Iverson is the greatest Sixer of all time. Some people say Wilt Chamberlain is, you know, whatever the case is, but there's a greatest of all time at a certain position. If we're talking about the Eagles in history, where do players on this current Eagles team rank to you in like all-time history? Like AJ Brown, if we're doing a fantasy draft right now, you and me, like, can you have a pick of any wide receiver in Eagles history? Is AJ Brown the guy? How many players?
It's funny. Yeah. It's funny that you said AJ Brown, and I'm fine starting there because I think he's the greatest wide receiver to ever wear the midnight green. And then a little bit's biased, right? I'm a huge AJ Brown guy. I was a huge AJ Brown guy when he was a Titan too. Like I just love the guy, always have. Him and Calvin Ridley are the 2 guys that I just wish were Stephon Diggs too is another guy. But keeping it on topic, AJ Brown. I would put him up there, right? I mean, for me, it's like him, you got Sean Jackson, you got T.O. Anything probably earlier than that, I'm probably aging myself out, and I don't want to piss off the old heads, but like if I go any further back, I'm it's not my topic, right? I got to talk about what I lived. Yeah, I mean, I would put him over Djax. I would put him over T.O. just because of the short stint. Like when you look at the pure talent too, I think AJ's a freak. Like he's an absolute monster. So I would have him amongst the top echelon of wide receivers to ever wear the midnight green.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I was thinking, because I know Saquon got a little bit of a backlash, right, when he said our Super Bowl winning team this past year was a top 5 team in NFL history, is what he said, right? Like he said, I feel like we could go toe to toe with any team in history, so we got to be top 5. And like you said, let's cut it off at pre-McNabb era, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we're not getting into
Yeah.
the Jaworski era and all that. Like,
Mhm.
so pre-McNabb, rule out. I'm thinking to myself, how many guys on this team right now? We just said AJ Brown, but how many guys on this team would be the best? You can make an argument probably that almost anyone along our current offensive line, and obviously it's going to be Jason Kelce at center, but anyone along our current offensive line, you could say is the best in Eagles history, right? Or 1A, 1B.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Tight end, maybe not. Maybe some people just love Ertz because he was so dominant for a period and won our first Super Bowl. But I mean, this one year of Saquon too, and you're talking about going against Eagles greats like Shady and Westbrook. Like
Westbrook, yeah.
So how many, if we're just talking offense right now, would be there?
Yeah.
And I mean, Hurts is probably getting there too.
I'm there. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm hard fought to say. It's almost like everybody is like, and I say it a little facetiously, but I kind of mean it. Like we said, AJ Brown, I think he's a lock. I'll come to Devonta, but I think Jalen's up. I think Jalen's up there. I would have had Nick Foles prior to that. I understand Nick Foles, outside of the Super Bowl essentially, and that Vikings game, not a great resume, like at all. But I think for what he has brought to the city, my definition of best, you won this city our first championship. You got to have Nick Foles up there, but I would edge Hurts over him. Obviously, McNabb's in the mix there, right? But like, you got to give it to the guys that brought you a chip. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and it's. I'll get it further, right? Like I'll say, what happens if you take this current Eagle squad and let's add the last 2 years so we can say Cox and Kelce are on that, right? So that group of Eagles, add Cox and Kelce to the current Philadelphia Eagles today. I'd almost let you pick your Eagles team to go against me from McNabb era up until now. So you could have McNabb with Deshaun Jackson, with Jason Peters, with Zach Ertz. What I'm saying is I would let you build your own Eagles team from McNabb to now. If I get Cox and Kelce and now's team, how do you think that would stack up? You could have T.O., you could have Deshaun on the same side, you could have all that. I still might take this team by itself.
If you're giving me like the history of the Eagles, obviously to a certain point, right, of our lives versus your current set but you're going to add Kelce and Cox. I know I picked my squad, right? I know I'm picking my squad hypothetically, but I'm taking your squad. Like, I think we just saw, I don't think Saquon's wrong. That's the crazy thing. Like we say it and it's like, these guys are just blowing smoke. They're fucking fans, dickheads, whatever. But like, we're being legit. Like this might be one of the best teams in the NFL ever. Like, I get it. You got the Bears in the 70s, right? They were fucking monstrous. Dolphins were really like the Niners. But how's this team not there? Like, it's got to be. I didn't even know people were giving Saquon shit. I saw the quote, but people were giving shit. I thought that was a well-known fact.
Yeah, there's some people that are like the old Patriots ones that are defending their Super Bowl, and like the Niners and all that stuff like that went on runs. Everybody was talking, but he was just saying, like, I trust my guys over your guys. I don't think there's any defensive line that have won Super Bowls. That Giants Super Bowl winning defensive line was great, but I mean, I got Lane, I got I'm Jordan Mailata, I got Jurgens, Kelce, like I Landon. I'm cool with that. And to me, it's weird because like going into the Super Bowl, all we heard was Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback on the planet, which we all know, right? We get that. And they're going for a three-peat, something that's never been done before. So this team is a back-to-back champion. Being Eagles fans, we know how hard it is to even get there. Back-to-back champion. They got the MVP. They got the Super Bowl MVP. They got Chris Jones. They got Travis Kelce. They got Hall of Famers, all that. And the score was 34-0 at one point. The score was 34-0. For the people that think that the Chiefs scored a real 22 points, when we pull our starters in a Super Bowl, and if this was a regular season, Mahomes would be out of that game, wouldn't even play the fourth quarter. That game would be a wrap. He'd be on the bench. They'd take the L. It is one of the most dominant Super Bowl performances we've ever seen from a team. Don't look at the final score. Watch that game. And it's so interesting to see such talked about Mahomes like he's the Michael Jordan or LeBron James of the NFL. For his team not to cross midfield in the entire first half, Chris, they had 1 first down, and it was the first play of the game, and did not get another first down. It's crazy to me.
We will likely, you and me being we will probably never see a better team than that. And that does make me a little sad, right? Because in my eyes, like this is a story that we tell our kids, right? Like I watch that team. Like that's pretty crazy and pretty cool to say. But I mean, how could anyone debate that? Well, then it's the Monday morning quarterback Twitter. Well, we got you chimed in on one of them because I was getting into it with Chiefs fans, and it's like they're talking about how our defense is so bad. What did we hear for the 2 weeks? Like, I don't even want to lead you to the answer. What were the things that we heard over those 2 weeks about Spags?
About Spags defense? About how great it was, aggressive. All I heard was Spagnuolo this, Spagnuolo that. They shut down what you're good at, and they blitz and pressure the quarterback.
Yeah, and what happened? Like, but that narrative has been well. We never said that. We knew we had a top, a bottom 10, whatever the story is, and then it's our offense and Travis is washed and whatever, right? I mean, seeing most like I somehow got back on Super Bowl TikTok, like they're freshen it, but it's just all the clips, man, and not a single. And we put him on his ass 6 times. How anybody can look at that team and without bewilderment is beyond.
I would calmly say that I would take those Eagles, the 2024 Super Bowl champion Eagles, with all their depth and everything over any team. Like I feel so confident in saying that. And it's interesting because if you go back and watch like a team's yearbook, like I've watched it a couple times on YouTube, like we had 0 points with like 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter against the Saints this year, like week 2 or 3 or whatever it was. We lost to the Falcons, Kirk Cousins, Falcons. We almost lost to the Panthers. Like we got killed by the Bucks. Like this team was showing you that like we weren't even good. We weren't even ready yet. We weren't even good. And then they just exploded. Like it's just cool to see. Like you said, like you'll be able to tell your kids and your grandkids, this is the greatest Eagles team in history. Now, does that mean we're not going to be on here every week saying, hey, we actually could be better? This might be a better version of that team. That's scary. Of course we will, because we have confidence. But man, it is cool to see that we witnessed the greatest team in history.
And what's wild is like I left Super Bowl 57, like obviously in complete fucking shock sitting there. I don't think I talked for 3 hours. But like I left that thinking we just missed out on a really special team being cemented in Philadelphia history. Like we're gonna walk away, you're gonna lose a bunch of guys as is per usual, post Super Bowl. And to think that we topped like just 2 years later, man, like and we came a better team, a more likable team. I love this team. Like there's not a guy on the squad where I'm like, I just don't like it. Just top to bottom, like there's just no way we ever see a team like that again. It's really rare.
Yeah, and I think that's why like we praise Howie Roseman so much, right? Like obviously we all love Howie. We know how he drafts and everything like that. We know the moves he makes. We don't really question anything Howie does, right? So if we see a move that's like, oh, for a third, huh? That's interesting. If Howie does it, you're like, nah, we fleeced him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It is what it is because we trust that track record. But a point you were insinuating on is you were saying like, oh man, we're going to have guys leaving next year. You have to capitalize on rookie contracts. You have to capitalize on guys, like on the last year of their deal. So to your point, if we would have went into this Super Bowl in 2024 and you got Sweat, BG, Milton, all leaving, not knowing what you have in Bond, him being a free agent on top of that too, like Becton, all these guys that are going to leave, you got to be thinking to yourself, we have got to capitalize on this moment. The people we have got to capitalize on this. So that's why I think makes Howie Roseman so great is we lost Kelsey and slid Cam right over. Like we planned that 2 years ahead with Kelsey. Fletcher Cox retired. Maybe it was a shock to some, maybe it wasn't to others, but hello, there's Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, like they're right there. I just think his ability to plan for what you talked about we either have to capitalize on this year based on contracts, or we got to replenish and do it. We were able to replace Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox, two greats. What we were just talking about could be the greatest ever at their positions in Eagles history. Arguably, yes. We replaced them like that and went to the Super Bowl. You heard all the Cowboys, the rival fans, losing Kelsey, losing Fletcher Cox. Oh, my God, BG and Lane are next. Okay, we replaced them just like that. And honestly, we may have been better. So credit to Howie for being able to build these type of teams in a salary cap era.
No, and you're like, you don't BG. I was going to mention that too as you're going through the legends, but like BG, who's the next guy? Nolan Smith. And we've all said it. Right? Nolan, that energy, that shit talk, that the he's just electric. He's magnetic. Whatever you want to say. That is BG. That's BG light. Like I said that last week, and I mean the greatest compliment I can ever give. And very similar to BG, right? BG was labeled as a what when we drafted him? A bust. No one thought he was going to pan out. And guess what? For the first couple of years of Nolan, it's been mixed, right? Like we expected more out of the pick. Like this, if we look back, we would have been happy with Nolan Smith, our first round pick. We got Jalen Carter and him, right? So like I know I'm reflecting on it, but like. Just one of those things where now he's really ramping up. We saw it in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs. It's just one of those guys. Oh, I think again, to your point, right? Hey, come with me. Like I'm going to be your backup. I'm going to be the guy that replaces you. Like it's as they're walking out, it's insane timing.
And I think you have to have that culture too, right? Like you could tell even BG was playing great toward the end of his career. I still thought he was playing really, really well when he tore his triceps out for the year. But being a part of a team that has culture and leadership, like if BG would lose snaps, he would mentor the younger guys. Like he 100%. He took Nolan, Jalix, and all those guys. All they do in interviews is talk about his leadership, his mentorship, like how he trains, how he teaches them, how he leads by example. And you see the young guys too talking about Fletch. You see Cam talking about Kelsey. He's like, he taught me everything I knew. You have to have that type of culture to where, hey, they drafted my replacement. Okay, I'm going to train him the best possible way I can. Without that type of like room, without that type of environment, without that type of that leadership doesn't then carry on. And now you can see, like you said, Nolan is going to take over for that BG route. We already see like Mailata, how he is in the offensive line room. It's just, I feel like you have to have that culture too. And that's something that doesn't get talked about enough with a team like ours, the Eagles.
No, because it's only the negatives of our culture, right? When AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, you got this love triangle going wrong. I don't know what the fuck happened with all that. Something with the passing game, right? Like we deal with our fair share of negativity in this city, especially because of a certain 3-lettered radio station that we were talking about earlier. So when you see things like that, that doesn't get highlighted enough. Like no one has already said too. Like I talk to BG every day, and I don't doubt it. Sometimes people are just blowing smoke. I don't doubt it because it's BG and it's Nolan, and that's just the type of guy. That's how it feels.
You got to have guys like that, man. You just really have to. Like we're sitting here reminiscing on this episode, about how great the 2024 team is, and I'm really excited about the 2025 team. I loved our draft again. I think I've come around to what we're trying to do. And I think one of the things I just said about trusting Howie is I trust Vic Fangio probably with my life. And I've only seen him for 1 year. I'm jumping into this relationship way too early because it's been so good so far. I just trust everything the guy does. Right. So I think when you see this 2025 team, Zach Bond, obviously perfect fit for this game. N'Kobe coming back from injury. You got Trotter there in another year of the system. And then you draft Jahad Campbell in the first round. Like this team, I'm not saying it's going to be as good as 2024, but it's going to be as exciting. I'll tell you that much. It will be as exciting right up the
100%. And speaking on your Fangio thing, I loved the Jahad pick, right? It's one of those things where it's like he's there, you get him, you don't think twice. I got more excited Fangio pumped up about it. I'm like, oh, he got something. Like he got what he wanted here, and that made me happy. So I'm coach. I'm definitely ready to get hurt again. I'm saying I'm fully in on Fangio, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. And I think of how good it feels because of how hard, like where it was that we were with our defense in 2023. between, having two different defensive coordinators. Then Matt Patricia comes in, and then Patricia and Slay didn't get along back in the day. And then you saw arguably one of the worst defenses in Eagles history, right? And then you're going into the next year and you're like, yeah, we got rid of some guys, but Slay's older. We got two rookie corners. Oh, that's going to be hard. Like, who's starting? CJ's back. Okay, cool. But then we got these young guys on defense. Jalix Hunt, what's he going to? And then all of a sudden, you have a new DC and you have new guys. And you go from the worst feeling about being on defense to when your team's on defense, now you're like, all right, they got it. Like, what a transition, though.
It's massive, and it's not talked about. I mean, maybe it is. I feel like it's not, because you just don't really see that even to that point, right? That's a massive difference, man. Like over an off season.
Today's episode is brought to you by White Glove Car Wash. Man, it feels like we just never get a break. We go from salt and brine on the roads right into pollen season, and our car never seems to be as clean as we needed it to be. That's where White Glove steps in. They're offering unlimited car wash packages for as low as $20 a month. You can take your car in daily and make sure that it is shiny, squeaky clean like you always want it to be, and not have to worry about cleaning it yourself. And with a satisfaction guarantee, you will never have to worry about it being just right. With locations in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, you are never too far from the glove. Family owned and operated for over 40 years. Go out and support small businesses this year and support your car by giving it the best car wash possible. Just ask your phone to take you to White Glove Car Wash and be taken to the nearest location to you, and let them give you the best car wash you have ever experienced.
This should show you like that this wasn't just like an easy fix. This wasn't something that we all expected. We did not. We needed guys to take leaps. You kind of need all those pieces, right, for it to happen. We talk about guys performing at the end of the contracts. You need your next man up to be the next man up. You need that sophomore guy off his rookie contract to step up. So, yeah, it's not like we went out and signed the best at every position and went crazy in free agency. Like, this was molded by Howie.
Yeah. And through Q and Coop being a big part of it, right? You go and get CJ, GJ. So, like, obviously there were some changes, right? CJ came back. He took us to a Super Bowl, you could say, right? And then, so, like, there was some changes, but there was a lot of doubt, man. A lot of people doubted this defense. They thought it was going to be the same thing that you saw at the end of the year prior. Even we, as Eagles fans, definitely doubted it, right? Like, is this going to be as good? Like, we got a lot of young guys, a lot of shoes to fill, right? So, the fact that it worked out, again, testament to Howie, testament to Fangio too. My goodness.
Yeah, like two guys that I was saying, like, I trust just an insane amount. And, when we we're talking about, I think another thing that adds to this Eagles team, we talked about culture, we talked about next man up, stuff like that, how good it was and how good it can be, is not everybody plays big when the bright lights come on, right? And then you add that to playing in Philly, and that's kind of like you could cower under those lights, right? Like a Kirk Cousins on primetime, or like Dak Prescott in the playoffs. Not just trying to throw a jab there, but my point is Nolan Smith got better when the playoffs came around. He had like 4.5 sacks, something like that. Milton Williams, we just thought Milton Williams was a good player. The playoffs turned him into the highest paid defensive tackle in the league at the time. Like, stepped up when the lights were brightest. Zach Bond, Slay, who has been much maligned on and off social media for whatever reasons, looked like the best corner in Eagles history in the playoffs. Just absolutely locked down. And the list goes on and on. You could talk about Coop and Quignon. It's not always easy to play in Philly. It's not always easy to play when the lights are brightest. And these guys almost played better as a result of those things. I think that's cool to see too.
No, it's wild, right? We've bullied many athletes out of the city, like Ben Simmons. There's probably a laundry list after that, right? On probably all major sports. Yet these guys, like you're saying, man, they turn it on right at the right time. And that's kind of what Hurts is too. Like, and we said like the whole team, right? But like that's Hurts too. It's like he knows when to turn that lever, right? Or kind of pull that lever, and that's an underrated quality to have for sure.
Hurts is such a polarizing player in the NFL, right? Because Eagles fans, we all defend him tooth and nail, as we should. Like, he's a Super Bowl MVP. He's modicum of consistency. You know, you may get some games that are 180 passing yards and only one passing touchdown, but you're never going to get a 6 for 22, 4 interceptions, 2 fumble game, type out of him. So I think his floor is a winner that's boring, which as Eagles fans, we don't care. And his ceiling is MVP, Super Bowl MVP caliber level. So the maturation of him being so polarizing, I think is I don't want to say has sacrificed personal stats because we know he gets the 1 yard tush pushes. So don't get it misconstrued there. But I think he's sacrificed a part of himself as a player for the team. You know, think about it like taking a charge in basketball. Like, this is going to hurt. This isn't really going to do much. You know, I don't score because of this. I don't get a steal, a block, anything. But it benefits my team, like jumping in front of, a bullet. I think he does so much of that we don't realize as fans sometimes. And I think that's why the media, it's not crazy good, because you'll see Josh Allen be praised 24/7, and Josh Allen's the MVP. He's amazing. Don't get me wrong. But he'll also do like a double backflip over 2 linebackers and a safety coming to kill him. And why that's cool, Hurts may slide 4 yards earlier if he sees a similar defense. So which one of them is going to get talked about more? Yet they both do the same thing that's helping their team win. If Allen gets hurt on the play, how is he helping his team? I think stuff like that is what makes him boring, but we love him for it.
Yeah. And honestly, it just kind of hit me right now. Like, we knew in between the losing Super Bowl 57, then that the year prior or the year after that was turned into a dumpster fire, Hurts had that background on his phone, right? Him walking out, red and yellow confetti. And he's like, he didn't really comment on it too much, but I guess the thought that we all gathered is like, that's motivation for him, right? That's me at my lowest point. And then he went on to say in, the pre-59 is like, that shit changed me. Like, that made me, that killed something in me, however he worded it. And I think part of that is probably thinking the blame is on him, right? For the fumble, right? Because that's what everybody references. You lost the game because Hurts fumbled the ball away. Notice how, even before then, but definitely since then, he's a lot smarter with live to see another down, right? And I think that's something that, we're still going to give him shit during the season, right? He should have tossed that one away. Coach, how many times you say that during a season, right? Is like, ditch it and live to see another day. But I feel like he has learned from that moment very specifically, like, I got to protect the ball at all costs. So it might be a little boring, and that's fine. So long as you keep winning games, that's all we care about.
Exactly. Especially on this podcast, we don't care how the touchdown is scored. We don't care how pretty ugly it is. We don't care how the game is won. A win is a win. Apparently, Nick Castellanos has said something crazy to Topper or whatever it was the other night when he got pulled from the game for defense. And honestly, if you're graded out as the worst defensive outfielder in the game, it should be no surprise. Apparently, he said something that, quote unquote, crossed the line, and he's not playing tonight. Chris, I know you saw this, heard this, read this, whatever it was. Where do you stand on this whole thing? Like, with Castellanos and Topper, who's right, who's wrong? How do you see it?
I guess context matters, because I was going to ask you, do we know what was said? Because
not at all.
He could have fucking said anything. Yeah, and I don't know if I want to defend certain things here, but
that's true.
But it's context, right? It depends. Like, did he curse out Topper? Did he curse out another play? Whatever, right? It's almost better if they tell us what he said, because we're going to speculate. But I think what I've seen on Twitter is like, good for Topper, right? Finally showing some balls and doing something, right? Being aggressive, like setting a standard, whatever you want to say what Topper's doing, defend it or not. And then it's like Castellanos, like, the guy can hit a bomb at any point. It's like, just let the guy play. Like, now's not the time to be fucking around, but if one game, grand scheme, not a huge deal, right? So I'm indifferent. I want to know what the fuck he said. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I really want to know what was said too. We're looking at it like one of the Alec Bone back in the day. I fucking hate this place.
Yeah, exactly.
Reading his lips, like what he said. But I don't know if I'm taking like the minority stance on this or whatever, or just like a different approach. But like, I'm cool with it from both of them, to be honest. Yeah. Like, we were winning in the game in the bottom of in the ninth inning, and Castellanos was being replaced defensively. So we get 3 outs, Casty, we're out of here. The game's over. Mm-hmm. So the fact that it was like against a bad team on the road, and he's still dialed in and pissed off, even though we're winning in the last inning, and he's still like, fuck this shit. Whatever he said, please edit that out. Whatever he was saying, going off, and maybe he crossed the line. The fact that he's still dialed in whatever game this is of the Phillies' long season is cool with me. But also, like you said, I'm also cool with Rob saying, hey, no, like this isn't the time or place. If you have a problem, you discuss it with me down here like a man. Not only is this not the time or place, or ain't the time or place for you to play either. You're on the bench. I love it from both of them because it's a boring game against the Florida Marlins on a Tuesday night, whatever it is, like, and they're both still involved. So, like, I was cool with it from both angles.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. I land right in the middle there, but I'm sure it's polarizing, right? So people are going to fall on both ends of this. I'm right in the middle. Like, I see it from Topper's angle, again, depending on what was said, and Castellanos is fired up. Love to see it.
Yeah, I just think it's from the standpoint of how consecutive Castellanos has started. I think it was like 238, 239, something like that. Second most in Phillies history. So I was like, well, that could we just pull him after the first inning or something like that? But I get it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you want these guys to not look like I've said they've looked like at times, is lifeless. Like they're just showing up. Hey, is the ninth inning here? Are we with this? Are we almost out of here? Like some games look and feel like that. So if this is just a little kick in the ass, a spark, maybe, we hug and kiss after this, kind of like you said earlier, like the AJ Brown thing, like AJ and Jalen were yelling on the sideline. Okay. Like it's sports. It's guys locker. It's going to happen. So I'm cool with this. If this is like the spark to get them out of this lifeless funk that they're in sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Right. I'm cool with that. Same thing. I was cool with the whole AJ thing. These guys are competitors. Like they're going to flip a switch. Right. And as long as they're good at the end of the day and winning games and scoring points, again, the only thing we give a fuck about, then I'm cool with it.
And I think that's what's so cool about Philly, right? Like, because we all, the age old, however you want to say it, like a different interpretation of the saying is like, hey, you come in here and you just bust your ass, like, and we'll love you. We'll respect you.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, that's like, there's a little bit of truth to that too, to where it's like, we want to win the game as well. You can't just be like hustling out there and running around like Jordan Matthews, I think is a perfect comparison. Like Jordan Matthews would his ass off, run, do everything he could. He was tough to catch the ball. Just wasn't that good. So that's one of the things where like, yeah, you're giving me effort and I do care about that, but brother, this ain't it. Like type of thing. No. So I think that any team that has to be talked about as like lifeless, like the 2023 Eagles at the end of the year, the Phillies are sometimes this year. I don't know how many Sixers games you watched this past season, but I couldn't even bring myself to do it. Exactly, Chris. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Basically, so I just think that's the worst thing you can have as a fan of a team is to look at them and be like, they're lifeless. They're going through the motions. They're predictable. They don't want to be here. So if this helps it, why not, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, and say you brought up that season, right? The dumpster fire season. It's like even along the way, we're like something's not right here. Like something just doesn't feel right. Like the wins are wins, but like they don't feel like good wins. Like we don't feel good about them. And ultimately, we stepped on our own foot, and shit. Everything went to shit, to be frank. But like we respected. Like we went out there, right? Me and Jake were out there like trying to cheer on the guys. Like the city's still around you because we know you guys give a fuck. But as soon as you clock out, like somebody doesn't sprint it out to first base, right? Even if it's Bryce Harper, you're going to fucking hear it. I don't care if you hit a home run earlier in the game. Like you're going to hear about this one thing for a fucking week. And that's it. Sometimes it's how it goes.
Well, Chris, we just been, pretty much reminiscing on the good old times here on this episode today and just kind of like talking about the future. I'm surprised that, me kind of leading this show today is so positive because normally, I like to bring the negativity.
Yeah, and, as soon as coach came in the waiting room, he's like, we got to vent. Like, it's the first thing we just like, what are we going to talk about? It's like, all right, let's just vent.
Let's just vent. Let's just talk about what we don't like, and then look what it turned into.
And there's always something that we're going to be like naturally, right? Because we usually have all four teams going at the same time, or somewhat. Right now is obviously a little bit dead besides the Phillies, right? But I think it was a great place to start, and then it turned into like the reminiscing, like you said, right? What's crazy is we're reminiscing about a team that just happened, Like, and I think that's crazy. Like, we're not reminiscing. Like, remember the days of McNabb, and like we're reminiscent about the team that just happened. Like, that's crazy to me. Like,
they're here now. They're still here. They're still with us. Like,
I know. And we're just sitting here like talking about them. They were like 30 years ago. Like, remember that team?
He was such a good guy. He's still alive. He's right here.
Yeah, yes, right next door.
Don't forget about me. No, I mean, I'm excited about this year. The schedule is tough on paper, but look, I mean, you're the Super Bowl champs. You're going to get everybody's best anyway. So bring it on. I think it makes it funner of a thing to watch too.
For sure.
Are you planning yourself? Are there any games you're going to or planning to? I assume Tampa.
Yeah, I try to get out to Tampa, at least once. It feels like we keep playing down there. The last time I tried, I got hit with the hurricane, so I couldn't get into town.
Right.
You probably got hit with it worse than I did because I was still in PA. So, but I'm going to try and possibly do that. That's top of our list. Packers and Bills are two other games that we're looking at, which would both suck because it's going to be cold as shit that time of year. But watching the Eagles run a tush push successfully in Green Bay would just feel really good. So that's why I'm thinking about that one.
I may be at similar games as
Really?
you. Yeah, obviously, it's I'm going to make the trek down to Tampa. Yeah. I've been to Eagles Bucks a ton of times because, like you said, I feel like not only do we play them all the time, we always play them in Tampa. It just seems like we always do. But I've been there when it's been like 200 degrees the entire time, 1:00 kickoff.
Brutal.
So that's going to be rough. And then Green Bay is something that we've talked about too. Going to Lambeau, bucket list. It's going to be cold, but I just think going to a stadium like that, it's an old football, the tush push stuff, just everything. You got to troll some point in that game. So those are two games that I think I might entertain as well. So that would be cool. Maybe we could do a little live pregame show from one of them.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Reporting live from Lambeau in enemy territory.
Yeah, we're just running tush pushes the entire episode.
I love it. And I wish we had somebody to tush push on this episode with as many times as my internet and connectivity and everything has absolutely sucked. 2023 Eagles internet connectivity today.
Yeah, really like post, kind of the end of the season, that's kind of what it's been like. And your computer had a reboot, man. You're just getting.
It's unbelievable. And Jake could probably even tell you too, like, I don't know how many times we've been in the middle of an episode and I don't know if someone heard me talking, then all of a sudden, and I cut out. I don't know how many system updates, we need to get like a IT sponsor or something like Chris. We're right up your alley, man. You need to, I'm just going to send my computer to you.
So. Yeah. Just send it to me. I'll figure it out. Sorry.
I need you to figure it out before our next show. So get on that as soon as possible. But
yeah, I got you.
Yeah, man, I think this is going to be my last episode hosting ever because of how terrible it was. So, listeners, I hope you enjoyed, Coach Joey here hosting it with Chris. Sorry couldn't be live, but froze 100 times. Chris, like always on every show, we end it with a final thought. Do you have a final thought? Kind of like PTI, like you're the winner today. Go ahead.
Yeah, besides my sign, I got to start changing this too, this Go Birds.
I know, I figured you were going to.
I know. I was like, what do I put? I was going to fuck WIP. I thought through many things. And I did think about that. My what is this shit called?
Final thought. Look, see,
final thought.
It's not just me on this episode today.
I'm falling apart here at the end. My final thought is give Jalen Hurts his flowers. You can hate the guy. Like, you can hate us. You can hate the Eagles, but give Jalen Hurts his flowers. Like, the guy deserves the respect that he's earned. So do it.
I love it. My final thought's going to be very similar. Give Nick Sirianni his flowers, okay? As
they got to grow from the soil, right? Yeah. You got to plant it every day. You got to water it. You got to nurture it.
The seeds were planted. We watered it. We fertilized. I mean, I don't know who was talked about more negatively, Sirianni or Hurts, but it was kind of like they didn't like that he was himself. They didn't like that he was brash, cocky, whatever it was. They had problems with the way that he yelled during games. Guess what? There's not one Eagles player that has a problem with it. They told him they wanted him to continue doing that when he said he was going to back down from it. And yet the media scrutinized. And here he is beating Sean McVay for the third time in a row. Here he is beating, the Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship. Here he is leading his second different Philadelphia Eagles team to the Super Bowl. And here he is winning the Super Bowl. So all we hear is about all these coaches, and his name is never brought up. Give him his flowers. Same thing with Hurts.